Welcome to pattern making class. I'm your college instructor, Annette Julie, fashion designer and production pattern maker to the garment industry. And today we are continuing to work on our princess seam to the shoulder patterns. So grab your pattern making tools and we're going to get started. Curve rulers, scissors, pen, pencil, 2x18" clear plastic ruler, some weights, or a little can would works well as too for pattern weights. And please watch the prior videos so you can see how to do the front and the back. These are full scale. We've got the front right here. These curved together. We've completely gotten rid of the side bust dart and the center front dart, the center waist dart here. And in the back, we got rid of the waist dart and the shoulder dart. So this curves really nicely, fits really well. Okay, so now we're going to continue on, add a little bit of seam allowance to things. I'm going to start with the side piece here because it already has paper underneath. And I'm going to go ahead and add 1/2 inch. This is for a woven fabric. We're going to add 1/2 inch at the waist, so it could be joined to a skirt. We're going to add 1/2 inch on my princess seams. We're going to go out around the bust mound we created. Little short lines when it's curved. Then we'll come back and connect them. Now we did the shoulder with 1/2 inch. Now we're going into the armhole. Curve your ruler around. Little short lines. Come to a nice right angle there at the side seam. And let's get our curve ruler. I'm going to connect some of those curves I made with the short lines. That looks good. Here's my waist seam allowance. We've got the armhole seam allowance. Flip the ruler. And we're almost done with the seam allowance for this particular pattern piece. Our side front princess seam to shoulder. That looks great. Keep that scrap for something else. And I cut out my armhole. Now my side seam. And the waist. Now we've got a notch in our armhole. We need to extend right up against the edge of the seam allowance, and the same with the notches here for our bust ease. Bring those right up against the edge of the seam allowance. And here, look, we had gone in that 1/8 of an inch for curving, so that this 1/2 inch line here, the seam allowance, it follows this line, not this one. But I've left that in to show that it makes a contour and fits well. And now with this pattern piece, I always like to fold it back against the waist and up the side seam to the princess seam, increase, and see how my grain line is. See if it's nice and balanced, or if I need to bring it over a little bit more. I could bring it here, or I could bring it over right to that shoulder there, which I'm thinking I'll move it over ever so slightly, just to put the pattern piece on grain to prevent stretching and distortion. Our grain line. That's our center front. This is our side front. Side, front, princess, seam, bodice to shoulder. Your name, the date, the size, and there could be lots more information. Style number, season, fabrication, etc. But we're going to start with this, and this, like I said, is a woven pattern. This is no longer a dart. This is not a notch. We do not need that. And then here, you're going to be dispersing ease. So if you wanted to go ahead and write yourself a note here that you're going to shear and disperse 3/8 inch ease, and that's between this notch and this notch to make this a nice bust mount. That looks good. Let's look at this piece here. Center front. I'm going to take a little bit of paper and tape this on. Give ourselves some seam allowance. And there we go. Let's go ahead and give us some seam allowance along this princess seam. 1/2 inch. And like the side front piece, I chose to contour the center front from the waist up to under the bust mound. And we're down here at the waist. We can add on our 1/2 inch. Looks like it's mostly taped down, so we can also trim that paper. Finish drawing our seam allowance. Here's where it was contoured. We have to bring our notches out. There is no ease gathering on this seam. And this contour right here, this is an option. This could also be straight. Our shoulder is 1/2 inch. And our neckline, that would normally be 1/4 inch with a collar or a facing or something like that. And this is the neckline of your block, so you can drop it down and open it up, or make it a V, or make it a square neckline. Many different options, so you're going to have to check out my neckline videos. So for now, we're just going to add 1/4 inch seam allowance. And note that that would be good for a facing, a collar, but it's a bit of a tight neck. So please think about styling, opening it up, and adding detail. Now let's go ahead and flip that ruler. Now we can cut it out. My shoulder down to the princess seam. Let me get the neckline. And now we can trim up our 1/2 inch seam allowance for our princess seam. I could cut it without blending the lines, but let's go ahead and quickly blend them. There you go. Now we'll trim them. Our 1/2 inch seam allowance down there at the waist to join onto a skirt. And that looks very good. One quarter, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2 to join to a skirt. Now here on the front, I just have a piece of paper folded underneath. That's not enough to make the whole piece, but that represents to cut on folds, we'd have the full piece. So we cut your fold of your fabric there, or we could put another piece of paper underneath to match it. So you'll have to continue watching the videos to see what happens in the next one. This is Annette Jolie. Thanks for watching.